Hello there.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Good morning, Vietnam!
We've got him, Senator Jeff Howe, on the program. I always love having him on, and lots to discuss today, but it's not all written down. It's driving me a little crazy. Senator, how are you?
Terrific. I tell you what, life is good, and I don't know if I'm going outside today. I think I moved all my appointments for construction inspections, and I think I might just sit back and drink hot cocoa and watch the temperature drop.
You and I are old, but I don't remember getting this cold this early. There's got to be some record. This is a cold day. Now, we have 29, 30 coming up by Friday, so, I mean, it'll be okay. But, boy, let that dog out this morning. He didn't want to go out, and he sure wanted in quick.
Oh, yeah, and, you know, I purposely, that little skift of snow we got up here, I went out and I replaced my single-stage snowblower with a broom and a two-stage snowblower.
Okay.
I've used that broom attachment to move all this stuff. I haven't used this two-stage yet, so I'm going to knock on wood. Hopefully that continues.
I'm going to give you this little hint, buddy, just because I like you a lot. You don't make friends when you make comparisons like that, because sometimes the rest of us have 10 inches of snow, okay? You're out here bragging, you got your little sweeper, and you just take your... Some of us got trampled on this last one. There's 10 inches out there.
Yeah, you know, I'm looking forward to putting that two-stage on and giving it the roll.
Let her go.
You know, you got a new toy, you want to use it. Come on now.
Okay, I give you that.
It's not new. It's new to me, I should say.
That's all that matters. My wife gives me hard. I'll do neighbors' driveways and stuff because as long as I always told God, you give me a snowblower that can handle this stuff, I'll take care of business. I got a cigar, I'm out there now. 20 below zero. I'll probably wait until it warms up tomorrow, but I have no problem. I enjoy it. Like you say, it's a new toy. I got a toy, got to use it.
Yeah, you know, the only question is can I keep my toes warm? That's right?
Yes, absolutely. On less happy notes, Minnesota could not be getting more press. Now, if you're in the camp of there's no such thing as bad press, we're loving life. I don't think that's necessarily true. It started, and I'm going to be honest with you, sir, I'm not thrilled that Donald Trump is using the words and the phrasing that he is on a lot of stuff. The word he used to call Governor Walz, we don't use that word in my house, so I'm not sticking up for it. It was wrong. But while the governor here is ripping on him, New York Times is coming out with an expose just laying out everything in Minnesota that's wrong. You get an X letter that was written by the Minnesota Department of Health and Human Services Employees Union or whatever it was. 37 million people saw this bad boy. Last night, I just kept flopping through the channels on the news, and except for Minnesota, you can take Minnesota out of this, all the other news organizations were discussing Minnesota. I couldn't wait to get up and see what the Star Trib had today, and they want to talk about the Trump garbage comment, not all the other stuff coming down in Minnesota. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, I will say that when you decide to pick a fight with the president, especially this president, you know where he's going. I mean, he has no holds barred, right? He's not going to run for re-election. He's got nothing out there. You're not going to remove him because he uses a term that you and I don't use.
Yep.
Right? So you unleashed him. You poked the bear.
Yeah.
I don't know what the governor was thinking. And best he's got is release your MRI to this guy who runs circles around everybody.
And what's he doing? He releases it. Yeah, okay.
Fine. Here, I'll show you. Which is, come on, guy. You're the big secret guy with the HIPAA and all the rest of this stuff. What are you doing? And then you're upset because he comes after you. And I will tell you that I'm just wondering now, are they going to Biden him? Are the Democrats going to do it again?
I want to talk about the governor's race and that part of it on the other side of the break. What I want to hit you up now is, how is it the mainstream media, and you want to run blocking for your governor, I get it, But with what's going on the nation now, and Minnesota being the end of it, how is the top news story not that, they're thinking they're going to take away the federal portion of the SNAP running money and say, nope, we're not going to do this anymore until you give us your SNAP recipients' names. You and I could do a whole show on that. If the federal government's paying for SNAP, why can't they get the list of the names who are getting it? That makes no sense to me.
Keep looking. I mean, you're going to look at SNAP. We're going to probably, that's in jeopardy. The education money is in jeopardy. The transportation money is in jeopardy.
No, don't go so quick. We got to explain to people why, because you're 100%. Transportation money, because evidently 50% of the CDLs we hand out are to people that aren't even legally in the country.
And, the thing is I had a constituent, a trucker, call me last session, say, hey, there's something wrong here because we got guys that can't speak English that I'm meeting at the docks, right?
Yeah.
And so I had my assistant start checking. She calls up our researcher. The researcher says, oh, no, Minnesota doesn't do that. We follow the federal law. Federal law doesn't.
Hello.
We didn't go to the agency. We trusted that the agency's following the federal law. Well, what was I thinking about thinking that? Because we don't follow the federal law on cannabis or anything else. Why would we follow it there?
Exactly. And then the education one. Okay, we've got Title IX. He says we're going to get rid of your education fund if you don't follow Title IX, and we're suing them to say, no, we'll do whatever in the world we want. Sir, the amount of money and now they're talking bringing federal agents in to look in the Somali community, which supposedly, and this the numbers 980 they looked at, half of those were overstaying visas and had other issues with their passports or their reason to be here. So they're going to come in and check it all out. You talk about poking the bear. How is not all of that the story? The story, he called them garbage. Again, that's horrible. That's the story? How about how this is going to affect Minnesota if we keep acting the way we're acting?
And you can't, you shouldn't paint with a wide brush, right? They're not all bad folks, right?
Nope.
But when you look at the fraud that went on and who collected the majority of the money, you can't duck that. And, you say the national media is putting all this out because our local media has put a blanket on that, a blinder on that, and they're still not talking about it a whole lot. They put a little blip and then they cover it. They are complicit in this. Yeah. They have been actively protecting this because they haven't we've tried to put the spotlight on this on the Republican side, and we get the Heisman. Oh, that's not a story. Even going back all the way back when Walz first ran and his National Guard record, we tried to bring the spotlight on that. They said, yeah, you're accurate, you're right, but our editor says we're not running it. So they are complicit in all of this, and they are continuing to do it because they're not putting the story out there. So, the thing is what's frustrating is we are going to this is going to continue to unfold. People hopefully will get the answer, but you're saying, I heard you the other day say, well, Flanagan is right in on this. I would go venture to say that our entire Democrat legislators are complicit in this.
Well, and the Flanagan thing, we're going to talk about on the other side as well, because this has to do with her. She is running for the Senate, the Senate House seat, U.S. Senate seat here in Minnesota. How is her name not brought up in all of this? Walz getting ripped over the coals with everybody, but all of a sudden the lieutenant governor's like silent. Was she not? Does she not sit in on any of the meetings? Is she not a part of any of this? Can she deflect that enough? I don't know. We'll talk about that on the other side. My last thing to you is we had a terrible thing go on in St. Paul. The ICE and whoever else, the St. Paul police came to get this guy in St. Paul last week. 2 representatives showed up. Smoke grenades, the rubber bullets, rocks being thrown at the cops. I'm telling you, this is a tipping point for us in a lot of ways, and we've got to get a handle on it. And the paper talks about the St. Paul police officers using chemical weapons. That's the story. They're going to look into that. That's the story the Trib went with. Not that there are 2 representatives they're throwing. I don't know that they threw the rock. Are part of the group that threw the rocks and are going after our cops. Is should the cops have used chemical agents? That was the problem.
Why weren't the two representatives trying to calm the people down and
That
try
is
to
my,
get them to, right? Where
that that's
they
the
were
story.
inciting this. They
Yeah.
should be charged with the same crimes of anybody else that threw a rock
Yeah.
because they didn't calm people down. Because this is not right.
No.
These police officers aren't ICE, whether you like ICE or not. But you know what? You shouldn't be throwing rocks at the ICE folks
Any,
either.
yeah.
They're doing a job. They're doing their job. So
That
you can't, you shouldn't be doing that. And I take this back to, this is what incites somebody to drive all the way over the country and shoot somebody
in Washington. Yeah.
wearing a uniform as the National Guard. And I take that personally because my son was down there in the Minneapolis riots when they went and did a drive-by and took the eyes out of one of our soldiers by the glass shattering and going into their eyes while they sat in a truck. I'm telling you what, this is all connected, and people got to realize, and we've got a responsibility as elected leadership in this state to talk these people down and get them to disperse. This isn't the right way to do it. If you want to have a problem, if you want to solve that, do it legislatively, do it through the paper, through good discourse, not through violence. Because violence on any level, on anybody, isn't right. But
Completely
we've heard it on from some of these folks, poking the bear, always going to violence, always saying you got to be in their face. You can't let them you can't let them go to the restaurant. We can't do that. Come on.
Completely agree, my friend. Let's go to break. I want to talk the whole governor's race. Just got a little bit more crowded. Good thing the governor's race isn't held in a phone booth. Or remember those old clown cars? They come in and then clowns would jeep. That's what it's like. Everybody is running for governor now. We'll talk about that coming up after this with Senator Jeff Howe.
Think about it. A famous politician once said, "You're entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts." But in a world full of AI and fake news, where can Minnesotans find the facts? Center of the American Experiment is Minnesota's go-to source for fact-based analysis and common sense solutions for taxes, energy, public safety, and our kids' education. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
A as in alligator. L also in alligator. But it's not alligator. It's the Al Travis Show.
The governorship, it is getting full of people who want to sit in that chair. I've got Senator Jeff Howe with me. We saw Mr. Medell get involved. He's an attorney. We saw Mike Lindell. Well, he's filled out the paperwork as of yesterday. Don't know if he's, quote unquote, committed yet. But about 12 people on the Republican side. But I loved your thought on, are they going to Biden Walz? When the New York Times comes out and they do that report, I got to think his national money's drying up. Those folks are going to throw their money after that report, even in-house with the X thing going 37 million people. I think fundraising has got to have hit him pretty hard in the last week. Do you think he can survive this? If they Biden him, sir, they're going to do it earlier than later, right? I mean, they're not going to go to 107 days like they did with Kamala. They'll do it sooner than later. Your thoughts on the Democrats doing that?
It'll be interesting, though, because Walz will not go easily, because I think I not only does his ego play in, but I think Gwen's also plays in. Okay. And I think that is what's going to force him to stay in. I think it'll end up at the primary. I think that's where they're going to have their issue. And they're going to have the same problem that we are, because I think that one of those 12 Republicans, if not half a dozen of them, will end up going to the primary. And the race will be determined, who we're going to have will be determined in August.
Yeah, not enough. Yeah.
Then they're going to have 2.5 months to basically campaign. And what that's going to do is that will also affect the national money, right? Oh, yeah. Because they're not going to put money into a campaign until they determine who the candidates are. And that's why that's why I've got a constitutional amendment to move our primary to March.
See, we talked about that. I love that.
And then they could campaign. And what that would do is let the average guy that doesn't have all that tens of millions of dollars to go out and actually meet and greet and shake hands and actually grassroots win an election for governor or a statewide election when they don't have all that cash. I
love that idea. But let's just go down the Democrats a little further.
Sure.
So I heard Dean Phillips is on that list that might, but he doesn't seem thrilled. And Angie Craig, they say, Angie, come on, you can jump in here. You'd get the governorship. Everybody loves you. And you got some money. But then that would leave the lieutenant governor sitting in a Senate seat by herself over there. And all of this is coming flooding at her too, right? So could they give up a Senate seat? Any of these 12 Republicans might want to decide they want to be a senator instead of governor and run against somebody who is the second in command with all that's going on here. It's like rearranging chairs on the Titanic. It's going down.
I don't see how they survive, right? I think they're all, anybody connected with this, and I think they're all connected with this. I think the Democrats are going to have a real hard time getting away from all of this stuff that's coming at them, because they all voted for these programs, right?
Oh, yeah.
And when it came, especially in the House side now, when they all voted against, they wouldn't let the OIG thing come out, right? Yeah. This is, the senators have a little bit of cushion because they actually voted for an OIG. Yeah. Those poor Democrats on the House side, they're all complicit in this. They didn't want the fraud to come out. So, yeah, this is a quagmire that is all created by them, and they're going to try to figure out. They got to figure out how to Teflon themselves, because this stuff was going to stick.
It's going to be interesting in the next 11 months between now and then, because it isn't just folks around here looking under the tent. National media, national people are looking. I don't think we stop hearing one more thing after the next thing after the next thing for months to come.
The problem is that August primary, and that's, I agree. I think that's when we're going to see who's going to run for what race and where our candidates are. So, yeah,
that's fair enough.
It's going to be difficult for those folks to raise money. That's all I got to say.
I'm out of time, my friend. I appreciate you being on the program. We're doing it again next week.
Absolutely.
All right.
We got to have steaks one of these nights together.
Absolutely, my friend. We'll do it. It's Senator Jeff Howe on the Al Travis Show.